Welcome back to the show. I'm sitting with the one and only. It's Andy Schectman from MilesFranklin. Andy, how are you, man?
Brad, man, it's great to be back. I want to compliment you and your wife and your entire staff on what an amazing, amazing job you did in Las Vegas. You should definitely be commended on that. I've done the last 20 years, I've done an awful lot of shows. And for someone who's not in the business of putting together conferences, I don't know, man. You guys did a pretty damn good job, and it seems to me like you're a veteran already because it was as well attended and well put together in every way as any I've been to. So kudos to you guys, and it was an honor to be there.
Well, thank you, Andy. I do appreciate that. My secret weapon is my wife.
Yeah.
She's very logistically oriented. She's super great at it. Now, she doesn't always like to be great at it, but she is great at it, right? So,
Right on.
you
It
know,
was it was obvious. It showed.
yeah, thank you so much. And what a turnout it was. Just under 700 people at the event. And your panel, the Gold CBDC tokenization panel with you, Jason Cousins, Lynette Zhang, and you just recently partnered with Jason Cousins.
Yeah.
And there are some beautiful things happening. Jason announced that they're talking to 25 different states about using Glint as legal tender. What does that mean for you two working together? My goodness.
Yeah, well, it certainly opens up a lot of opportunities, and it's an amazing platform. I mean, they've done a really, really, really great job with the Glint platform, the technology behind it, the thought behind it, and I'm coming in and rattling some bushes and trying to get them to do a few other things too, largely silver. Right now Glint is gold, but I think it should also be silver. We're talking about all of these things, and we have a very robust relationship with Brinks already. They utilize Brinks in Switzerland. It's very symbiotic. But I have learned, I guess, one thing, and running a business in a world that, if I don't have to tell you, especially in terms of technology, how fast the world is changing, and how fast new technologies arise and new ideologies need to be explored. I guess I would simply say, in a clever phrase, when running a company, at least in this space and most spaces, either you roll with the changes or you get rolled by the changes. And I have realized, whether it be in having a relationship with the crypto space, how important that is, or in this case, realizing that there are things in this industry that need to be acknowledged, including more convenient and especially utilitarian way of utilizing precious metals, is something that we should be part of. And the app, the ease, the relationship with MasterCard, it's fantastic. And it opens up lots of avenues indoors to things like states allowing Glint or the Glint platform to be part of a transactional ecosystem. And I think there are high probabilities that to some degree this will happen. So it's an honor to be partnered with Jason and his fantastic program, and Andrew, his CEO right hand man, who I just think the world of. So it was cool to spend some time there with you and your show and the guys from Glint, and onward and upward to lots of new and great things.
It's very exciting to see you guys come together, and I'm super excited about that. And all the things that are happening around what you're doing and what Jason's doing, and Lynette as well. You all were phenomenal in the panel. Now,
Thank you.
what I really find interesting here is that I had a fireside chat with Christian Carlo, and that conversation really leaned into what you guys do, because in that fireside chat, Christian Carlo, for those who don't know, the former CFTC chairman and now the head of the Digital Dollar Project, author of Crypto Dad, super smart guy, leaned into the idea of going back to a commodity-backed dollar, and I know he was referencing gold because I said it, and he didn't say no. And Chris is the kind of look. Chris is not going to just go along with something. If he feels a certain way, he's going to speak to it a certain way. And the idea and notion of going to a commodity-backed digital dollar to give it that confidence is exactly the conversation we've all been having for years about introducing a new system that is tokenized and digital, but bringing the confidence of gold.
Well, and it only makes sense. I mean, first of all, in 2019, the Bank of International Settlements, Brad, which is the most powerful bank on the planet, the central bank, they reclassified gold as the world's only other tier one reserve asset on the same level as US dollars and treasuries, which have been the primary central bank tier one asset for 70 plus years. I like that. And so that's a big one. And then when you take a look, there's two other points to add to that where I think he's going. You look at what the BRICS have talked about. And for the past 3 years, they've been telling us ad nauseum that the new system would have three facets to it. Number one, it would be a basket of local currencies of all of the BRICS nations involved. Number two, it would be a basket of commodities. And, you know, what other primary commodity would it be other than the only other tier one reserve asset, which if you look at Q1 2024, it bettered Q1 2023 of most central bank acquisition in history. No one thought 2023 first quarter would get beat. They just did it here in the first quarter of 2024. All in all, going back the last 4 years, they've bought more gold than at any time in central bank history cumulatively, ever. The central banks are not just the most wealthy, but they're the most well-informed. And the third part of it, so you got the central banks buying it. You got the BRICS saying, yeah, it's going to be a basket of commodities, a basket of currencies on a digital platform. We talked about this before. The one that presumably they were referencing would be the technology behind Project Bridge. I'm not sure what they will ultimately use, but not knowing this, and it's probably even naive to say it, I think it is similar thought pattern to things like XRP. It's a bridge between central banks using the ability to sidestep SWIFT. Sounds like it would be a perfect segue into using XRP. And then lastly, you have Kristalina Georgieva, the head of the International Monetary Fund, who just came out and said if a central bank digital currency not pegged to something would be fiat. So all of these things, I do believe you will see the IMF, the West come out, and that's how they gain legitimacy in a system that needs it, maybe to challenge the BRICS, and that would be a Western-backed IMF special drawing right of some sort pegged to a digital one pegged to gold. Wouldn't surprise me at all. And so, yeah, you know, when you got the former head of the CFTC here at the show, and that's a big deal. That's the commodity police. Maybe he understands how XRP fits into the Western ecosystem, digital dollar. All I can simply say is there is no question, but that any new system will have to go back to sound money. And the way that you do that is marry the blockchain technology with the commodity. And that way it doesn't have to be convertible, because what we're seeing is the immutability and the veracity of what is being held on the ledger, having it audited, having it there, and using something like XRP to run the rails and to show the immutability. It's a perfect marriage. And I think that's, if I were going to jump into his head and make an assumption, I think that's what he's getting at.
Well, I mean, to the point that you made, there's so, man, you made so many fantastic points, and you tied in the beauty of the conference, right? Like what you guys touched on. And to your point about Enbridge, James Wallace from Ripple has said that at least one of the pilots of Enbridge is in fact the XRP ledger, to your point. So we don't know, like you said, we don't know if there's more pilots in the Enbridge category, but absolutely James Wallace has confirmed that Enbridge, certainly XRP Ledger, is one of those pilots in Enbridge at least, right?
Oh,
So
that's awesome.
It is super exciting to hear that connection and you make that point. And to go to the point that Chris Giancarlo, the former CFTC chairman, who is an innovative guy, who approved the futures Bitcoin ETFs because he is about innovation and understanding that he had expressed to me that if he were to be the CFT or SEC chairman, if a new administration come in, because I'm going to share this with you, I dropped the ball, Andy. I asked Chris behind stage, I said, I'd like to ask you this question on stage. And he approved it. He actually approved it. But then I forgot to ask it.
No, no.
But I said, Chris, if the administration changes at the White House, the phone rings at your house and you answer it, and it's the president asking you to be the next SEC chairman, are you taking the gig? And Chris said yes. And how amazing that would be if that were to go down and he do that, because we know that Chris stated to me that he would do one term and he would do innovation because that's what he did at the CFTC. That's exactly what he was like, what what you're getting if you put me in, and I'm going to get this log jam opened up and free this market if they were to have me there, right? So I certainly hope that he gets that call. I hate to put him back to work like that, but I would certainly hope he gets that call because I know he'll do what's best for America, and he won't sacrifice our constitutional rights in order to make sure we have a digital stablecoin or a la digital dollar that doesn't infringe, because he's very, very keen to say that we need to get the values of that dollar design correct. And then we also need to have the value of the dollar be truly a dollar, Andy.
Understood. And it makes, as rudimentary as that sounds, it makes good sense. And I have been, long before I knew you, I've been very consistent in my belief and saying it since 2019. There will be a marriage between blockchain and gold. I believe that in my heart. There is no reason for the most powerful, well-funded, and well-informed bank in the world to, after over 70 years, reclassify gold as the world's only other tier one asset. And, what better way to inspire confidence after, years of inflationary policy, and that has become more and more opaque in terms of how much money is created. When I started in this industry, they used to publish something called M3, which was the broadest measure of the money supply. They don't do that anymore. They cited it as archaic and no one used it. Not true. It told us what was going on in the money supply, what was going on behind the scenes. And now they have M2, which is not as broad and leaves a little bit to interpretation. But what has happened is that we are immersed in a system that has no transparency, and one that has allowed politicians to continue to, with really unfettered abandon, print and destroy the value of the currency. It's not tethered to anything. There's no restraint or governor, if you will, kind of like a golf cart with a governor. It won't go any faster. And the same thing is true here. So what this does is it gives immutability, and it gives veracity, and it gives transparency. Now, this is what Zoltan Pozsar said was coming, and I respect him as much as anyone in the industry. And he's a very smart man. He used to run the plumbing for the New York Fed. He understands the plumbing of the financial system better than anybody. And he said, this is Bretton Woods 3, a system that will be denoted by transparency and by commodities, pegging to a new system. He's right. This is how you inspire confidence. And what better way than to use XRP and to use gold to do just that? And I think that's what Giancarlo was hedging at. I think that's what Kristalina Georgieva is hedging at. That's what the BRICS are hedging at. And there's no question that both of what we focus on is really, I think, front and center in could be some very, very exciting and lucrative times ahead, with XRP, with gold, certainly with that type of ideology in mind. You're talking about being in on the ground floor of some very, very interesting times.
Oh, absolutely. And, you brought up a word that I actually brought up to Chris Giancarlo in his interview, which was confidence. And it's so funny. And I said this to Chris Giancarlo as well. as sophisticated as our monetary construct is, it comes down to confidence. There's a line in the sand when it comes to money. And if you lose that confidence, if that paper isn't worth anything. And that brings us back to when you hear people talking about $3,000, $5,000 plus an ounce gold in the near term, knowing that what you've pointed out in this conversation today, that central banks are hoarding gold at an alarming rate. We know that the problem this time around is not a real estate default swap crisis. It's a monetary crisis. The problem is at the central bank doorstep. It's not at the real estate, or it's not at the investment bank's doorstep. This is at the printed bank's doorstep. And what they need now is a reset, and they need a new money to introduce to the world. That new money can be things like XRP, XLM, those type of assets that can serve as a bridge between this system. But it's important, I think, for everybody to understand that introducing a bridge asset between all the money of the world is where we're going here. And it's going to be the best thing that could happen, because you're going to begin to isolate the spillover shocks economically to each individual region of the world. So we don't need to hold your currency, Venezuela, right? Because you're having a nightmare situation, and soon to be in the United States. They don't need to hold our dollar, because we could hold a bridge asset in our own country's dollar without being affected by what's going on in your country, US, which we never think is going to happen. But I think there is a moment that that's going to come home to roost, and we're going to have a period of time where we have to deal with that.
Couldn't agree more. And it's exciting for an old school guy like me to be part of this. But you mentioned again the word confidence, and I think there's it's like you have to wonder, have we already exhausted our confidence with the way we've handled things both globally and domestically? It's kind of like you break a glass. You take a glass and throw it on the ground and break it. How hard is it to put it back together? Is it impossible? As a side note, I don't know, have you seen the video by Jared Bernstein that's all over the internet?
I don't believe that I have, that I'm
And
aware
I
of.
don't know if you're able to pull it up and attach it to this video,
Okay.
but I suggest everyone watch it. Now,
Okay.
it'll blow your mind. Blow it. I mean, it's just, you can't make it up. And I want people to check this out. Go to Twitter. It's all over. Jared Bernstein. Jared Bernstein is the lead economic advisor to the White House. I've been talking about him now for over a year
Oh,
on most of my videos, most of my interviews. This is
this
the
is the
guy
guy
who,
that doesn't know what he's doing. I've seen the video. Yes.
yes,
Yeah,
right.
he
This is the
can't
guy that
explain money
advocates.
printing.
Right. He's a guy that advocates for the dollar losing its reserve status, and because it's a privilege we can no longer afford. He's a student of the Cloward-Piven theory, which I think everyone should look up. It'll blow
Yeah.
your mind. Cloward-Piven, two Columbia-based, University of Columbia-based professors in the 60s. Read the Cloward-Piven theory, and if you don't come back saying, oh my God, they're doing this right now, I'll buy you a hamburger. I'm telling you, Google Cloward-Piven theory. Jared Bernstein is an advocate of that, went to Columbia along with Obama and a couple other, Madeleine Albright, Bill Barr, Eric Holder, and others. But watch this video and you will understand where we are in the cycle and why we need some transparency in the system and why we need something like XRP and gold backing a new system. I just want people to check that out. Jared Bernstein, look at his latest video. It'll blow you away.
It
Anyways,
will.
Bradley, look, man, it's such an honor to be here with you every week. And all I can tell you is that I do believe, and I mean this in my heart, that our two worlds are going to come closer and closer and closer and closer together. That is what all of the people in charge keep hedging at, a marriage between immutability, transparency, and commodities. That's where we are. And I can't think of two better places, the XRP ledger and gold, the only other tier one asset in the world, to find a union together. And if indeed that is correct, well, you and I are going to have so much to talk about, more than just what's going on, that it's an honor to be attached to someone who understands what's going on quite the way that you do. I would say you understand your world as well as I understand mine. And I learn from you every day, and I appreciate that and the association with your community. And I'll do the best I can to uphold my end of the bargain and learn more about what's going on in this space, because in my heart, I know that it is the future, these two worlds colliding.
Well, Andy, I appreciate the kind words, and you're not getting out of here without me taking from you. Let's know that, because I am
Right on.
definitely taking from you, my friend. It is a two-way street, and it is a beautiful, beautiful relationship. I love learning from you and sitting down, speaking with you all the time. This will be like, I love this because you're right. Everything is colliding together. This is going to become more and more relevant the closer we get to it. And I think even sooner than any of us probably realize. Andy Schectman, MilesFranklin, you want the best gold in the world. All you got to do is get it. info@milesfranklin.com and put dig gold in the subject box. Andy, thank you so much. Have a
You
great
stay well, man. Have a great weekend. Look forward to connecting with you next week. And give my regards to your lovely wife, who I know she's the reason behind such a great show that you guys did. So tell her she did an amazing job, and you were all right too, brother.
That's right. That's right, Andy. Well spoken, and all the best to you and your wife. We'll talk
See
soon,
you
man.
guys. Take
Take
care.
care. Bye.
Bye bye.